I've done Tim Burton, David Fincher, David Lynch, Christopher Nolan. I've done many directors, but I figured next up should be Darren Aronofsky. And this is, of course, my series that I've been doing, film directors ranked worst to best. Obviously, Darren Aronofsky is one that I've been meaning to do, and finally I'm like, hey, why not do it? So, for those of you who don't know, he's done 7 films, and I'm going to rank them from worst to best. So, let's get started. And number 7 is Pi. Pi is a really good film. It's his first film. It was filmed black and white. A lot of fast-paced editing and nonstop barrage of imagery. It's a good film. I would definitely recommend it. It is one of the best 1990s examples of independent cinema. Would definitely recommend. Next up, number 6 is The Wrestler. And I actually own this on Blu-ray. I think it's a really good film. It's a showcase of Mickey Rourke and the power that he is as an actor. And the story itself, I think, is really good because so oftentimes with sports films, it shows them as like, yeah, down on their luck, but then they rise to fame. And this film just kind of shows that, sometimes you can be, famous and, go in the reverse direction where you go fame and then, you just go downhill and you just keep on sliding. And I think this is a film that is definitely worth watching at least once. Watching it multiple times is kind of difficult because it is a down-over film, but it's a Darren Aronofsky film, so, what are you expecting? But it's still a really good film. Would definitely recommend. Number 5 is a film that I first heard about several years ago, and I got around to watching it finally a couple years ago, and that's The Fountain. I don't own it yet on Blu-ray. I've been meaning to pick it up, but that's a really good film. It's very thought-provoking. I like how it's very short, so it crams so much information that for a lot of people is a turnoff because there's so much that's happening where it's just like, oh, I don't really want to pay attention. But for me personally, because there's so much that happens, I'm able to watch it multiple times and feel as though I pick up multiple meanings of, certain images that go across on screen or certain cues that the actors have. And it's a really fascinating film. I think Hugh Jackman is great in the film as well as Rachel Weisz. And it's a very thought-provoking film on life and what it means to be human. And I always dig those kind of, thoughts on life. So would highly recommend that as well. So, obviously this list, there's no real negative films as you can tell, but not gonna lie, my number 4 is probably gonna be a surprise to most people as to why it's this high up on the list, and that's Noah. So Noah stars, obviously Russell Crowe, Jennifer Connelly, Anthony Hopkins, Ray Winston. It's a film that when I first saw it, I did not like it. I really did not. But when I started getting into Darren Aronofsky's work and realized, the type of filmmaker he is, which I'll explain at the end my interpretation of his films and style. When I realized his style and everything and how it was an interpretation of the material, I was like, hey, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. And there are certain scenes that are just jaw dropping. Like there's a scene where they combine creationism, evolution, Big Bang Theory, all in one scene, and it's incredible. It's also a beautiful film. It's got great visual effects. Like this is when when I talk about my reviews, blockbusters, how I want them to be thought provoking, but at the same time entertaining. This is what I'm talking about. For me, this is a thought provoking film that at the same time hits all the marks of entertainment value. And I think technically speaking, it's also a really good film. I know it's a surprise to most people that I like this film, but I do. I actually really like it, which is why I own it on Blu-ray. My number 3 is a film that when it first came out, I heard that it was really good, but again, I didn't catch it until after high school, and that's Black Swan. Black Swan is the film that made me realize how great of an actress Natalie Portman is. How those terrible, Star Wars prequel movies didn't really showcase her actual acting. How this is a film that when people say, "Oh, Natalie Portman's not a good actress," you can show them this film and be like, "Oh, I see why now. Why Chad says she's a good actress." Because this film, it's really good, and it really does show the flourish that Darren Aronofsky likes to have with his surreal, cue. It really works. This is like, as my friend described, a fever dream of a film that at the same time, every single time you watch it, I feel as though personally that you interpret it differently. And I like that when I'm watching a film, and Aronofsky seems to know how to do that for me. So that's why number 3 is Black Swan. I really like it. Number 2 is his most recent film, and it's controversial, man. It's controversial for a reason. That's because you can show it to 10 people. 5 of those people will like it. 5 of those people will hate it. and that is 2017's Mother. Mother is Mother is I really like Mother. I liked how it was misleading with its trailers because it was the type of thing where how do you market a film like this? Once you've seen the film, that's the only thing you can go and think about. How would you market a film like this? Well, you market it as a horror film. Is it a horror film? It's an art house film. It's an art house film with a lot of stuff to deal with that isn't always easy to talk about. And the fact that it's in a mainstream film, it's pretty ballsy if you ask me. And I think that it's a great film that you can discuss because, and I'm not just saying like me personally how I'm saying it's a great film because yes, I do really, really like it. But I'm saying it's the type of film that you can show to people and you'll talk about it. And I feel as though so oftentimes when you're leaving the theater, you can't really talk about movies with people because it's just like, oh, it's good. And that's the only opinion. But with a movie like Mother, people feel so strongly about it so that when you're done watching a movie with that person, you're able to actually have film discussion. And I love it. I love films that do that. And Mother really does that well for me personally. That's why it's my number two slot. My number one, though, it's kind of basic to say this is my favorite Aronofsky film because so many people already say that. I do hear some people say like The Fountain or even Pi or Black Swan, but at the same time, you always hear this. And call me basic, but my number one being Requiem for a Dream. I'm not ashamed. This is one of my all-time favorite films. I'm not gonna lie. I truly love this film. I think every single time I watch it, it hits me every time. And it's hard for a film to do that because so oftentimes when you see a film, it will have an impact. But the more times you watch it, the less the impact. But every single time I watch this film, I personally have a major reaction to it. And I love it when a film's able to do that. Like I was saying with Mother, I love it when a film is able to garner discussion. And Requiem for a Dream for me, yes, most people do put this as their number one for Aronofsky's films, but I agree with it. As of right now, as of 2019, with all the films that he's made, all seven, this is my favorite of his. Now, here's the thing. I always like to say at the end of, these ranked lists about the director. So, as you can tell, I'm a fan of Aronofsky. I understand that some people find him to be really pretentious and either, impenetrable, where it's just the type of thing where you'll watch his films and you'll either not understand it or you'll find it, again, pretentious, overly artful for the sake of being pretentious. I don't see it that way personally. I see it as a film director who he's putting his vision out there. He's not afraid of what you think. He's putting it out there. And yes, I understand what people are saying, how Mother, when he was doing interviews, he literally was explaining everything. And I understand what some people are saying by we don't want directors to explain it. We want to personally be able to figure things out. But at the same time, I like that he actually has ideas. He's putting those ideas out there. They're ambitious, they're thought-provoking, and he knows how to bring about so many nauseating, inducing imagery that to the screen. It's hard to watch. I mean, even in a PG-13 movie like Noah, he brings about imagery that is so hard to watch, but it sticks with you too. And that's the thing. His films all have imagery that sticks with you long after the film ends. The themes, to me personally, call it overbearing or call it to the type of point where it actually hits you over the head with the messages. But I'm able to either relate to them or understand where they're coming from with it. And I really like Aronofsky as a filmmaker. He's a director that whenever I hear that he's making a next film, I'm there. I'm going to be there. His next film, I've heard it's going to be like an artificial intelligent courtroom film. I'm all in. He's done 7 films that I've all really liked. I mean, the lowest rated film of his was Pi, which was 4.5 out of 5. So through all this, I'm saying I really like his style. I dig it personally. I'm a fan of Aronofsky, but at the same time, I understand if you as viewers don't like him. And, I am down for discussion, obviously, in the comment section down below with, your guys' thoughts on him as a filmmaker. Guys, that was my ranking list, though, for Aronofsky's films, 7 to 1, obviously 1 being my favorite. Let me know your list in the comment section down below of his films. Do you like his films? Do you not like his films? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. But also, if you have any directors that you want to see, like a list for me to do, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'm thinking about doing like Spielberg or Terrence Malick next, or possibly Martin Scorsese or Paul Thomas Anderson. But Scorsese is going to be a little while because he's done so many movies. But enough of the exposition. Guys, thank you as always for watching. I love it. And guys, also don't forget the subscription, notification bell, and I'll catch you guys later.